Yeah, I'm going to ask you about Beanie. We had him in here, and he had a pretty good testimonial for Mountaineer football. He said, I could have, a lot of guys go hunting for NIL money or whatever. I came to West Virginia because I wanted to be a better football player, and I did that. And now he's a consensus All-American. What's that say for him? What's that say for what you guys are trying to do?
Well, it says that he's about the right things. We came here as a guy that was kind of, he was a 6-year player. Had been to a stop previously that it didn't go the way it was planned. We'd recruited him the year before and really wanted him and finally got him here. And when he came, he had a blue-collar mentality the entire time. And I told you guys this fall, he had that alpha mentality from really the day he stepped on campus. And he just worked. And he worked and he overachieved a lot because of his work ethic. He didn't worry about some of the other things that transfers worry about. And he's, played himself into having an opportunity to play in the National Football League. And then unbelievable honor for him to be, a consensus first-team All-American, which those are not, they don't come around as often as we may think they do. But it's hard to get on that list, and he's on it, and his name will be there forever.
Obviously, it's a selling point for you. You can go out and say, hey, listen, you could be the next Beanie Bishop. But for you guys, you can say, I want to go find the next Beanie Bishop. So there's a little bit there. I'm going to go. Are there enough hungry guys like that out there? Or are they getting fewer and far between?
I think they're few and far between. You got to really do a good job of vetting a young man. And, you usually know with young people pretty quick what they're about because you ask them what's important to them. And if the first thing they say out of their mouth is NIL and things of that nature, then you probably know real quick that they're not about what football being a great football player is about. And it's cliche, but every great player that I've ever coached has been a worker, and they've done the extra things to make themselves the best player they can be. If you go down there, some of you guys know Mike Joseph. Mike's really hard to please, and Mike doesn't like very many people. All right, and he likes guys that work, and there's not many defensive backs that love working, right? And Mike Joseph loves Beanie Bishop, and he's only had him 6 months. So if that tells you anything about the young man, he's been there 6 months, and he's made an impact in the locker room. He's made an impact outside of the building with being a good citizen and a good human, and then he's made a huge impact on the grass. So that's a win-win for Beanie and West Virginia.
Looking at North Carolina, Drake May played almost every snap for them. How do you scout them knowing he's not playing?
Well, I'm super excited that I don't have to scout them knowing that he's playing. Great, great player. Probably will be the first or second pick overall in the National Football League draft. He had an unbelievable career at North Carolina, and obviously he's decided to move on, and now they move into their future with Connor Harrell, a young player, really talented, has a big arm, can throw the ball down the field, and more of that has been me watching his high school film than anything. Can throw the ball down the field, and he also can make you miss and run the football. And so I really think that he's going to be a really good player there. He'll be a different quarterback than what they've had. But he's a good player. He was highly recruited, highly rated guy out of Alabama for a reason, and we've got to be ready for him to be a dual threat quarterback in that game.
You just have to watch their tape and kind of just get a feel for them and not worry about the specifics.
Well, definitely you watch who they are. Right now we're trying to figure out who they are, not as much personnel driven, but who are they offensively. And what do they like to do? They like to run the football. They've got an All-American running back, and they're going to want to run the football. But they also have got good players around the pieces that they had. With Walker opting out, they've still got good players. And so looking at their scheme, we're looking at scheme, what their coordinator likes to call, based on down and distance and situation, and scheming it based on that more so than who they have.
You do have to have some assumptions. You probably don't want to do that, but one of them is they may not play a lot of tight end because they don't have any available. So that could change what they do as well.
Yeah, well, I think when you see teams that have injuries at tight end, good old O-line coaches like to get creative. I won't give too much away, but they like to get creative, and so we're prepared. We're going to prepare for that as well with the creativity of an offensive line coach, because offensive line coaches love to run the ball and they don't like to do it with skinny guys, and so they're going to find a way to get people with big butts around that line of scrimmage, where they have to put extra O-linemen in that position or not. But we'll be prepared for that.
So maybe some guys wearing 70s might be wearing 80s.
Oh yeah, they like those big guys that wear receiver numbers or tight end numbers, but they still wear knee braces. Those guys. So,
is it safe to say, obviously they like to run the ball anyway, but is it safe to say that you figure they're even going to cling into that even more, because you're not only losing the QB that took all the snaps, but also Tez Walker being gone? I mean, it seems obvious what their scheme would be.
yeah, well, I think they'll run their scheme. I don't think they'll change a whole lot. With Terrell being, or Harrell, I'm sorry, excuse me, Harrell being the backup, he's had reps. They give their twos reps, so he's had reps, and they've recruited well. They've had 2 or 3 top 20 recruiting classes in the country, so they've got good players there, I'm sure. And so with some of the guys that opted out, it gives their young players a chance to go play. And, I think they will run what they run. Now, will they lean on certain things a little bit more? I think they will, because of the tight ends being out. And, with the way they play, they utilize their tight ends in run sets, but they'll use the same personnel in pass sets. I think that they can, in this game, they may be a little bit more, run-oriented out of run sets and not flexing those guys out because they don't have those tight ends. So we'll be prepared for both packages, and that's really all you can do is prepare for both and see what, in the first 15, 20 plays, what the game's going to be like.
You mentioned turnovers and missed tackles. Is that your biggest concern when you talk about bowl games?
Yeah, definitely. It's always the team that is the most excited to play, the team that turns the football over, or that does not turn the football over and can tackle, after these layoffs, are usually the better team in a bowl game. And I think that all just goes down to what you emphasize in the bowl prep. You got to really emphasize the fundamentals, like you would in a fall camp setting, because if you lose those fundamental things that you do on a daily basis, lose those going into a bowl game, and then you get in a bowl game, the motion of a game, and then you start to get out of position tackling and just getting off of blocks, and that's going to be the big thing for us, is getting off of blocks and tackling a All-American running back over and over and over. That's going to be our focus through these next 7-8 days that we have here. And we'll be ready for the challenge.
From the time Beanie got here, was there a moment or just something you saw where you realized, like, this dude is who we thought he is? He's legit. Was there a moment or something that's just made you realize that about him?
Well, I don't know if it was any particular moment. I saw a guy that when he got here, he didn't know many people, but he was always in the building. He was always in the building, either in the film room or he was downstairs working with Mike Joseph and his crew downstairs, doing extra things in the weight room, strength or recovery. And you just see that out of a new guy. This guy's serious about his craft and what he wants to do and what he wants to be. And then when you get on the field, you see a hard worker, you see a guy who's a leader. And I think you do that. He was able to do that because he gained the trust of his teammates really quickly. Some guys come in and they kind of feel their way through and they try to, kind of fit in to kind of make friends. He didn't start out that way. He started out as just a hard charger, alpha male. I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to try to bring guys along with me. And I think that was a blessing in disguise, because what happens now is you have other young players around him that you see kind of gravitating toward that. Because now, instead of going back to the dorm room or the apartment to play video games, they go down and do some extra in the weight room. And he always brings people with him. And he's just been a great ambassador for West Virginia and just for our room, man. It's been a blessing to have and to coach. And I hope that he left an impression on some of these young guys that are going to have to grow up as we move forward. That's how you become a great player. You gotta put work into it.
And a guy like him, gets the acclaim here at the end of the year, gets the Shrine Bowl invite, a good shot to go pro. Probably not surprised that he's going to play in the bowl. I mean, that he's not one of
Oh,
these
no,
guys.
I had zero doubt. I've had that question from different people from time to time. I had zero doubts that he was going to play in the bowl game because he's appreciative of West Virginia and what this place, the opportunity that he was given here. And he loves to play ball. Again, he told you guys that he didn't come here for NIL and all the things that some people like to show up for. All he did was just come here and work and make plays and play with high energy. And I thought when the bowl game was announced every single day, he would text me and say, hey, which bowl game we playing in? Which bowl game we playing in? And I knew he was going to stay and play, and I don't think anything could have changed his mind about playing in the game because he likes playing the game of football. He doesn't just love what football gives him. And so that's the difference in guys that opt out. Sometimes they love what football gives them, right, and the means to an end that football gives them as opposed to just loving playing football. And I like those guys a little bit better.
Coach, Neil talked about, in terms of the players that did go to the portal and choose to depart, that he was only really surprised or disappointed, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but kind of by one. Do you have any thoughts on the players that left and are in the portal just because a lot of it affected where you coach?
I really don't. My job is to coach the players that play for West Virginia. And when players go in the portal, I'm not upset with them. Sometimes it's probably best for them because of the opportunity to go somewhere and play. But my job is to coach the players that play at West Virginia. And if you're in the portal, you don't play for West Virginia. So that's all I can worry about. Because if you left, you're not going to play against North Carolina. So that's wasting my time to even think about somebody who's not here. And sometimes as fans and writers and things, we get caught up in who leaves and all that. Coach Brown says it all the time, and I used to kind of just go, oh, whatever. But the portal giveth and the portal taketh. We're going to add some pieces as well. We've just talked about Beanie Bishop. If the portal didn't giveth, we wouldn't be talking about a first team All-American. So we'll reload. The cupboard's not bare. We'll get some guys out of the portal and we'll fill those roles. Won't fill them obviously for the bowl game. We'll have some guys that'll step up and step into new roles. But I promise you, we haven't been sitting down, watching soap operas here the last couple of weeks.
What soap opera would you watch?
I don't know. I just watch football. I don't watch anything else. I do like First 40. I like First 48 though. That's my show. That's only because my wife watched it and I don't have a choice.
Bring your wife into this about cooking again.
That's right. Trouble. No, she gets mad at me when I talk about her on these press conferences.
It sounds like that you're going to get a handful of developmental practices in addition to regular ones. How much can Jordan and Josiah stand to grow? Maybe even maybe they see the field in the bowl game.
Yeah, well, those guys are getting a ton of reps right now. We do Monday Night Football. That's kind of our developmental football. We're doing about 20 minutes after every bowl practice, which in a 20-minute period you can get about 30 to 40 reps. And so those guys are getting a lot of game-like reps during that. And we watch that film with them and grade it and critique them, and you can see some growth out of those guys. I think there's some of those guys are still growing physically. You talk about Jordan Jackson in particular, he's gained probably about 10 to 12 pounds throughout this fall semester. He's gotten faster. And so obviously he's gotten stronger because he's faster. But he's a guy that will have an opportunity to play some in this game, and then that'll only bode well for him moving forward, going into spring of next year, because it's so hard for those guys when they go down the scout team. They run the other team's defensive scheme and style of play, and they don't run our defense every day. And so the Monday Night Football gives them the opportunity to get coached by us and run our schemes. And so you can see growth. And I'm looking forward just to seeing those guys get out there on the field and play a small role. And like I always tell them, if you star in the role that you're given, your role will increase. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them have a small role in this bowl game.
Okay, anything else for Coach?
Okay, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.